and welcome to the continuation of our inaugural council meeting for the 2025-28 triennium. Acknowledging that our meeting started over at Memorial with our corporate bringing of our council, and also the welcome for our community members as well. To start off, I've got to move that we accept an apology from Councillor Rakina. I could have a seconder for the Councillor Hoy. Also, if we could please note an apology for this morning forfeiting from Dennis Form. Oh, yes. Are there any other apologies from members or notes?
It was a apology for the forfeit from Palatano.
And Balabemba as well, please. It's been moved and seconded. All in favour say aye. Those opposed or abstentions, it's carried. Mere announcements. So we all got to have a little bit of announcement. And was that recorded? If you were here, you got to listen. But I'll just also take an opportunity to acknowledge our kaitiri for today, AJ Rakitirani. Tēnā koe, AJ. And this isn't actually the first time AJ has been our kaitiri. And when he was a Year 13 senior for Te Kura Kaupapa Māori, he made his debut here in these chambers. It's nice to have you back in chambers as a high school graduate now. Tēnā koe, AJ. With that, I am going to ask staff to put up a resolution. The resolution is for us to accept the following papers for this meeting.
So an apology from staff. We didn't circulate the hard copies that you've got in front of you within the sort of time frame. So what we need to do is pass a resolution for you to accept that those items be considered today. Within the legislation, there's provision for you to allow a decision to be made where appropriate.
If you could get the writing up for us. So the motion is something along the lines of and will include item 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, 5.7, 5.8, and 5.8. One. So all the way up to 5.8, acknowledging that the hard copy agendas were not published at the time frame, so we're just moving that we consider them seeing as we did get electronic copies.
No, it's because of the electronic copies were pushed to public, but they weren't circulated to members within the 2 weekend days.
Okay. I'll move if I could get a seconder. Councillor Foy. Any commentary on that or clarification required? Councillor Foy, any other members? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed or abstentions? That's carried. We'll get into our meeting proper now and we'll go to item 5.1, which is on page 6. A testing of declarations. There is no recommendation or decision right for this report. The minutes will record that the declarations of elected members were made and witnessed. Do I need to move that still? Right, then we are going to item 5.2, the appointment of the Mayor on page 8. It's the recommendation that Council note the Mayor's appointment of Councillor Tiki Rudkin as the DPM. It's been moved by Councillor Stratford and I will send that. Any commentary?
Just
I just want to make it clear that I really do appreciate doing the role very much so. I just am so appreciative of Waikiki doing it for this training. Yeah. And like I said in there, here total for both of you.
Tēnā koe, Councillor Stretford. Any further commentary? Tēnā the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed to abstentions? That's carried. We now go to item 5.2 on page 10. The recommendation is that Council note the full explanation of laws affecting elected members and the advice provided at this meeting. Peter Mover. Yep. Councillor Research. Seconded by Councillor Stratford. Councillor Research, any commentary? No. Councillor Stratford.
Marco, I do actually deliver this.
Oh, Richard, it should say that on my run sheet. It normally does.
They should. But I don't want everyone to be alarmed because I know you had 2.5 hours to be last week. And I promise this is like 10 minutes, possibly 12. So, as this is a legislation briefing and it's a statute requirement, which I apologise for interrupting, but that's what it is down. So as part of your induction, the Chief Executive is required under Local Government Act to arrange an explanation of legislative obligations that apply to you as elected members. This ensures you understand your responsibilities and avoid any risk of prosecution or disqualification. You may also be aware, I hope so, last week, that the current government has proposed significant change to the legislation under which local government is conducted. This includes changes to the Local Government Act, which I'll refer to briefly, and changes to other legislation affecting resource management and the environment, and of course water services. Only some of the legislation you'll become familiar with is required to be covered at this meeting, but you'll soon become aware of the vast network of legislation applicable to local government. So let me briefly outline the ones that are required for this meeting. First of all, the Local Government Act, the 2002 Act I'm referring to. This Act defines the purpose of local government, including democratic decision-making and promoting social, economic, environmental, cultural well-being of communities now and in the future. Under this Act, local authorities have the power of general competence, which is tempered by formal planning or reporting requirements built into the Act. Sets principles for transparency, accountability, participation and prudent stewardship. Councils must follow formal decision-making processes, especially for significant matters. Some regulatory powers are also provided, including the power to make laws. Councillors are required to comply with Council's Code of Conduct, which sets expectations for behaviour, decision-making and relationships, and promotes trust, respect and accountability. The current Code of Conduct was adopted by Council in 2002 and attached to your agenda today, you've got reference to the Code of Conduct. I'm ready to leave a copy of it, which I'd strongly suggest that you have a read through. It's really quite important. However, government plans a review of the relevant provisions of the Act and its national standard is under development. Probably sometime next year, I imagine. Same thing basically applies to standing orders, which are also referenced on your agenda. And again, I really urge you to be. The second act I'm going to refer to is LGOIMA, or the Local Government Official and National Meetings Act. This act promotes openness, public participation. Part 1 and 2 govern access to council official information, and Part 7 deals with meeting procedures. So there's two important things in that act. Official information, which is very widely defined under the Act, should be publicly available unless valid reasons exist to withhold. This includes information that you hold as elected members in capacity as such, including emails, notes, text messages, voicemails, regardless of whether on your personal or house-alone devices. I did emphasise that the other day and I can't emphasise that enough. If it is information that relates to your capacity as an elected member, it can be called in and provided to Ombudsman in the context of a complaint from a member of the public who has seen that information. All information held by council is subject to the Act. And I can tell you from experience that calling it in include actually having a lot of devices to see what may have been deleted. Because as you know, an electronic device that's ever permanently deleted. Certain types of information can be withheld. For example, we're required to protect the privacy of natural persons or they're commercially sensitive. But these provisions are strictly interpreted by the Ombudsman in the event of a complaint. Meetings of council and its committees must be publicly notified and open unless exclusion is justified. Recently, the Ombudsman and Auditor General have expressed the view that non-official meetings, such as workshops, I'm sure you will have council workshops, should also routinely be notified and open to the public unless good reason for confidentiality is established. Local Authorities Vested Interests Act 1968. There's two main rules under this Act, which is intended to prevent conflicts of interest. The first one is that members may not enter into contracts with council that total over $25,000 in any financial year without general approval. Note this applies to contracts involving a member's spouse, companies in which you or your spouse own more than 10% of the issued capital, or in which either is the managing director or general manager. Council may make an application to the Auditor General for prior approval of any such contract in special cases. The second rule is that members must not vote or participate in discussions where they have a pecuniary, by that I mean a financial interest, unless interest is held in common with the public. The pecuniary interest exists where the matter would, if dealt with in a particular way, give rise to an expectation of gain, or loss of money. As above, the rule extends to spouses and related companies. A member must declare any pecuniary interest in a meeting and abstain. The declaration and abstention will be recorded in the minutes of the meeting. A member can apply to the Auditor General for a declaration that the rule should not apply to a particular matter being considered by council on the grounds that it would impede the transaction of council business or that it would be in the interest of the community that the prohibition should not apply. That would need to be a prior application. A breach of these rules carries a very small fine, but it also carries automatic disqualification from office for the whole of the term of council. You should also be aware that participating in a decision where you have a non-pecuniary interest, such as bias or predetermination, may not put you personally at risk, but it may put the decision that's being made at risk of an application for judicial review before the court. Now, the next facts I'm going to mention will come before you less commonly, but they actually create very serious crimes that are breached. So the first of those is the Crime Act, and in particular sections 99, 105 and 105A. So these provisions prohibit bribery and the use of official information. A bribe is money, valuable consideration, office employment, or any benefit, direct or indirect. Members who are defined as official counsel under the Act must not accept, obtain, agree, or offer to accept or attempt to obtain a bribe. I'm sure you all know that, but it's worth repeating. Members must also not corruptly use or disclose council information for pecuniary gain or advantage either of yourself or for any other person. Both of these things are offences carrying a penalty of up to 7 years imprisonment and disqualification from office. So that's where the, whoever hits the road gets really serious. The second act that carries a serious criminal penalty is the Secret Commissions Act. This act prohibits using your office for any improper gain. Offences include exceeding inducements for influencing decisions, failure to disclose any pecuniary interest in a contract made on behalf of counsel, including damages, falsifying an invoice or a receipt to counsel, or failing to disclose any commission, discount, rebate, etc., given or allowed in relation to your business as counsellor, and receiving a secret reward in a contract. So the Secret Commissions Act can involve things with third parties that you may be doing on their behalf. Again, a conviction can result in imprisonment for up to 7 years and disqualification from office. Those are the two very heavy hittings. The next one, which again you may or may not encounter during your term of office, is the Financial Markets Conduct Act. This applies to counsel offers financial products such as debt or equity securities. Members are treated in this way as company directors and are personally liable for misleading disclosures. It is most likely to affect a counsel should it choose to go directly to the market with an offer of its own securities, such as bonds. Accuracy and transparency are essential as substantial financial penalties apply, and in this case I'm talking in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, not the $100 of the other things that we've mentioned. Just quickly, there is an act called the Protected Disclosures or Protecting Whistleblowers Act. It protects those who report serious wrongdoing within an organisation. Members are shielded from retaliation and entitled to confidentiality. Council will have a procedure to support disclosures, and I'm sure that your officers will make you aware of where to find those policies and processes. Last piece of legislation that I need to mention is the Health and Safety at Work Act. So under that Act, members are deemed officers and you're required to exercise due diligence in ensuring workplace safety. It includes staying informed, monitoring compliance and ensuring safe systems are in place. Council will have a due diligence program to support this. Elected members have a measure of protection for failure to exercise due diligence under the Act, but retain an oversight role. So those are the things I'm required to tell you. Just in closing, I should say that this advice is procedural, but it's also essential. You have a fuller explanation on your agenda for this meeting and supporting materials and reduction pack. Please take time to read them carefully. If you have questions, I encourage you to speak with the Mayor, your committee chair, the Chief Executive. And I haven't invited questions in this session because we did quite a lot of questions and answers last week, and I don't want to take a huge amount of your time at the moment. But if you do have questions for me, I will respond to them if you put them through Helen Ditcher, Legal Services Manager, or Aisha Huraway, basically anybody on the governance team. They'll ensure that your question comes back to me. And they will be answered. They may go with the answer if they're relatively straightforward, or even if they're slightly complex, actually, by the governance team. I'm happy to assist with that as well. So, thank you very much for your time. I didn't time myself, but I know I didn't take 2.5 hours. Thank you. Good luck. All of you.
Councillor Research.
Just thank you, Linda, but no comments.
Councillor Stretford.
No, thank you.
Questions or comments from any other members? I'll put the motion. All in favour say aye. No opposed or abstentions? That's carried. We'll now go to standing orders. Item 5.4 on page 18. The recommendation is that Council note the final Council standing orders, and we actually had a correction, which I actually want to have a conversation. So I'll let Councillor Usich move it. Seconded by Councillor Stratford. The correction is that on page 23, it says that the chair has a casting vote, but on page 64, it says that the mayor does not have a casting, the chair does not have a casting vote. So we do need to have them say the same thing, which is our current standing orders that the mayor does not. I would like to pose an amendment that I didn't discuss with council. And that is that I would like our chiefs to have casting votes for the traineum. The reason being that before we had committed of the whole or everything through council, we are switching in the term to a governance structure that has very strong powers to a committee level, but those committees will have smaller quorums, smaller memberships, and I do want the chairs of those committees to be able to, if something is at a deadlock, use the discretion that they are going to have as chair, because they are going to be driving a lot of the heavy work streams for our council through those committees. I do want them to be able to make that decision on the day at the table, rather than pushing it back for ourselves and back to us again. So I do want them to be able to have that discretion by the time it gets to this level. So I think that a lot of them may will have had at committee level. So that's my amendment I'm proposing to re-establish a casting vote.
Second committees or
all chairs.
So that includes
me. The other part of this is that I understand that a part of the system improvements bill that Councillor Sella, Linda just spoke out. The system improvements bill is going to set a standardised code of conduct for every single council. We'll never be adopting a standing orders. We'll be using the same. My understanding is that she will have a casting vote in that, but whatever it is, when that becomes legislation in the early new year, that will become, this is our standing orders for now until that comes through. So I'm happy for members to speak for it. It's what I'm proposing. I'll go to Councillor for second opinion.
I'd like to support Member for. I also had a further question of clarity around process for voting, and it related to the keyboard chairs. Previously, when we did have committees and our councils were on the committee and had a vote at the committee level, but not the council level, we hadn't had that discussion as a councillor. However, I was very supportive at that time and still continue to be supportive of that, because community boards represent each of our wards and do a lot of the hard work at level. So I personally am supportive of that as well, and being on committees, having a vote as well. And I'm not sure if that would need to be covered as part of this process of standing orders, or if that would just be a further discount.
Yeah, so we can consider that UK as part of the adoption of each of the committee terms of reference and the third membership. I understand at a later stage in the day we'll discuss the committees cars using his mayoral powers to establish who the chair, deputy chairs will be. But there's nothing in standing orders currently that precludes appointing community boards to any of the standing committees of council.
In response to that, I appreciate that. What I want to see happen for us is that we Over the next 6 months, our council, my expectation is our council will be signing a accord with each of our community boards that will discuss the relationship for the next 3 years, what powers we delegate at community board level, and if they would like to also be sitting at committee level. For me, when I set up a committee and I put chairs and deputies in those spaces, that's completely at the chair and deputy's discretion. So it's great to hear from you that in the next paper, we're going to be putting you as the chair of our Te Koukou Committee for Transport and Infrastructure. You are going to open the doors to community board chairs to sit at your committee board, but I don't want to presuppose that during this motion.
Any other councillor Richard? Yeah, my comment. Why it was originally put as one man, one vote was because it was seen and had been used. And some examples where 2 votes were actually taken by the chair to overturn an essentially majority decision. So rather than holding something, it actually overturned it. So it's the debatable thing, and Parliament doesn't do this. Parliament is one vote, one man, one vote. Now I know that this is common. There's no law against it. Obviously, you could always get a situation where it's broke, where there's break, even with the chair having 2 votes. You won't solve that problem by doing that. So what I've also found is when you get a split decision, often, again in the past history, we've often come back, and I didn't record those, and actually overturned it. So we then bring it before the council again and reverse the decision. I don't think we ever reversed any decision in the previous term. So for me, it's sort of not, it's breaking that principle one vote. I'm not going to ditch it, I don't mind, provided the chairs realise that they shouldn't abuse that position. And that's really quite important.
Councillor Gore.
You want to be called Bishop, sorry, me and when we did the wording here on the overhead, so I understand we're talking about 8.3.
Yeah.
I think we have also about notice of motion.
So the amendment that we're discussing right now, being moved by myself, deputed by Councillor Fui, that on page 64, standing for 18.3, that be changed to chairperson does have a casting vote. The chairperson or any other person presiding at a meeting has a deliberative vote, and in the case of an equality of votes, the chairperson has a casting vote, is what we would change it. I'm happy for, can you get up? I'm happy to speak to the notices of motion.
Okay. I actually sent this to the mayor via an email, and I've had a very brief conversation with the GPs. My concern with notices of motion, they don't have a compliance shield attached. And so we don't know in a notice of motion whether or not we are in compliance with all legislative instruments that we've just had a very strong workshop on last week in regards to significant engagement and public consultation. So I signalled to His Bishop that I'd like to see that notice of motion must come with a staff compliance report attached so that we have visibility of whether or not the motion requires extra consideration in regards to the list of laws that we've just all discussed the previous agenda item, and also that it has a financial implication My concern arose in the fact that if we have notices of mission meeting after meeting after meeting and isolation, we can lose sight of the cumulative impact of the dollar spent the members are authorising. Also, we might get tripped up and we don't realise that we're required to consider another piece of legislation. I know that that will extend a timeline, and I don't have the word for how that should look like in an amended set of standing orders, other than Aisha told me that the Gs were looking at it.
We can't, I wonder if we would just stick with the proposed amendment for this time at this point, around lasting vote, and then once that has been voted on, we can just any further amendments.
Do you have a intended appropriate place to include what councillor was trying to achieve? Which I agree with. I want an organisation to.
The discussion I had with Councillor Court was that we're working on a template so that any notice of motion would be submitted by a template. Within standing orders, there are a number of appendices to outline different processes from elected members. So my suggestion would be, if it's supported by council, that we develop a template and then adopt that as an appendix to our standing orders.
We'll go to councillor Shedd.
Your amendment, I don't have either casting vote, especially since there's the change coming. To the discussion around notices of permission, I think that template is the way to go because there's already standing order 26.2 speaks to having sufficient information as to satisfy the decision-making points of section 7782 of the local.
I'm empowering the chair, and then I'll let you guys have the script here. Not turning it down. Off too.
Yeah, we'll put notices of motion to but I think the template is the way to go. The standing orders and the acts actually back up what Councillor Court is saying. It's just we're not saying it might help. Sure.
Any other members for the amendment? Councillor Howard, how do we do?
Notice motion. I think for me as a councillor, most of the items on the agenda are predetermined and sometimes it does take into account what's happening in the committee. And so when a member does lodge a notice of motion, like there's no big drama about having another piece of paper template follow out. But I think the point of it is that it enables, a council to bring up issues that may have been overlooked, that are really a hot topic in the community and can't wait 3 months.
Councillor Foy.
On the notice of motion, I wanted to support the proposed template. We have seen an update to the template for the pecuniary interests that the staff have done, and I found that update really helpful. And I think that by having the template, that might let you address a lot of the template. But I agree with Councillor Kura Harawira that we don't want waiting 3 months for a staff report because the staff have got a lot of work to do themselves without having to address all of our notices of motion with an additional report. So
I feel, Chief Executive, I feel that this discussion actually is an operational discussion and that what we are seeking is a more staff to pick up a notice of motion when it comes in, and then the operational insight to it so that we can consider it at the table rather than it just coming from left field, and it can be about anything in the whole wide field, and that it's really up to you and our staff to be able to give us something to the effect of a complete schedule that at a high level, understanding that, you only 5 days, but at a high level, here is what we've run through and able to see to help when notices come through. So maybe this is just I hope that we are going to develop a template, and the template will include a compliance schedule for staff to fill in for notices of motion, but that they still come to table at the discretion of the chair. So,
I'm happy to include a note, but again, the amendment that we discussed at the table was whether we had a casting vote for our mayor and chairperson. So I just want to come back to
and
that.
Councillor, if we're adding it to our amendment, because then you'll all vote.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Just looking at 18.3 as it is worded, so that I'm clear about my full statement. It says the person the city member has a deliberative vote. And in the case of equality of vote, the chair has a casting vote. And in that, as it is, as I said, I'm not going to die on a ditch. I'm happy with that. That's when there is a tie, because if you put a new thing up, you have you can actually vote twice to make it a tie. That's not an equality flow. For clarity, if there is a non-equality vote, there's no casting vote. That's true. Yeah. So I just wanted it recorded now, because I've seen it used where there was a non-equality of vote. The casting vote was also given, which stopped motion.
For this amendment, I'll go to my right of reply. Our committees have 5 to 6 members on them, but the quorum is going to be 3 members. Right? It's likely that we are going to have committees. When the paper, we're dishing out a lot of jobs, people. I think we have other things. That means that our committees will be making decisions with 4 members around the table. There's going to be, I can foresee that there could be a 2-vote, where the chair and the member have gone for something and 2 members have gone against it. The equality. In those circumstances, I want what the chair is looking for their committee, what they're driving on behalf of us all, with that extra responsibility that they have as the chair, for them to be able to have that casting to push it through so we can just carry on. And that's the end of my right of reply. I'll put the amendment to vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye. Division. Can you
Aye. We're going to vote by division. We'll get it up, please. Myself, I am in favour. Kohipu Deputy Rudkin.
Aye.
Councillor Court. Councillor Boy.
Aye.
Councillor Haukiat Harawira.
Okay.
Councillor Smulders. Councillor Allen.
Aye.
Councillor Stratford.
You're all over the place on that. Yeah. Aye.
Oh, I'm going on my list. Councillor Balki.
Aye.
Councillor Raka is absent. Councillor Village. That is carried. It will now form a substantive motion that I will move if I give a seconder.
Yeah.
Councillor Foy. For this part, can we include the note of template and compliance schedule?
Yes.
Would you like it as a resolution itself, or are you happy for it to be a note?
Can I request that it be added at 26.1, that it be accompanied by a debate? I like the idea of notices of motion. I think they're a valuable tool. But I think in isolation from the cumulative impact of the financial cost and perhaps any legal risk, there is a risk transfer to elected members. So very high level template to accompany a notice of motion will be a very valuable tool.
So I'm sure that Councillor Foy will agree to include that we will have, as a part of the substantive motion, that 26.1 also read in addition, and that a notices of motion be accompanied by a council template that includes a high-level compliance schedule that staff will pre-populate for the it's a substantive motion, so the floor is open, Councillor Foy. I know that it feels so new being a chair, and I tell you, it's fairly. Any other member like to speak the substantive motion? You know what the vote? All those in favour say aye. Those opposed or abstentions? Abstain. Councillors, that's carried. We are now going to go to item 5.5 on page 98. And this item is appointment of ward councillors to community board, item 5.5. The recommendation will be that council appoints councillor Anne Horton, the Bay of Islands Whangarua General Ward, as member of the Bay of Islands All Community Board. Appoints councillor John Vucic from the Kaikakianga General Ward as a member of the Kaikakianga Community Board. C. Appoints Councillor Rachel Balke from the Tahiku General Ward as a member of the Tahiku Community Board. D. Appoints Councillor Arohanui Allen from the Ngātai Tokera Māori Board to the Bay of Islands Whangarua Community Board and the Paikohe Hokinga Community Board. And E. Appoints Councillor Hilda Halkiard Harawira from the Ngātai Tokera Māori Board to the Tahiku. I will move. Yes. Second, Councillor Research. Councillor Research.
No.
Commentary from members, Councillor Striff.
I just wondered if we maybe needed to the Bay of Islands Whangarua Community Board record it all first, only because they've got how many members? Yeah. And I know last time there was Councillor was the only person on that board, maybe because I was deputy, I couldn't. Yeah, so I wondered if they wanted to wait till they had their first meeting to decide. I'm keen, and so is Anne, but I think it would be good if they chose, if the board decide. Yes.
Can I ask, I have here a number of members reach out to me to request to the councillors to request both you and Councillor Court, Councillor Smulders, said that she was happy with representing us for other things, not for the community board itself. I am going to actually ask Member Ward for commentary on whether you'd like to have your meeting on Friday and your request for who you would like to have from council on your board.
Thank you. I have two members away, by. One may be online. I also have 4 out of 7 supporting councillor Court's continuity, given the Kirikiri Waipapa spatial plan and Te Pua Waitangi review that we're doing. So happy to take it to the board, but I'm not sure that will achieve any more implication of consensus that I already have. So
I'll leave it at Councillor Court. I'm
happy for that because Councillor Shepard, in our next paper you're going to get a heck of a lot of jobs.
I don't need work.
Any other members like to speak to the recommendation? Then I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed or abstentions, that is carried. We're now going to go to item 5 and 6 on page 101, the elected members' code of conduct. The recommendation is that we note our current elected members' code of conduct, also acknowledging that a new code of conduct will come into place when it's finalised for us, but that this is our current code of conduct. And maybe you do read through this. I will move. Any questions or commentaries? Any other members? All right, I will comment. On page 104, we've got these values. The code is designed to give effect to the following values: public interest, public trust, ethical behaviour, objectivity, respect for others, duty to uphold the law, equitable contribution, and leisure. And with anything, note over the next 3 years, there will be times that we strongly disagree with one another. There will be times that we strongly agree with one another. But I will ask in our adoption of this code of conduct is at the heart of everything. You can weigh the code of conduct, but the kōrero, the tama, and then we don't make things personal over the next 3 years as members at this table. One, I don't want the extra work for me. But two, we can disagree philosophically, ideologically, we can disagree on the how and what, but I never want us as a council, and I'm feeling really positive about an amazing council we have to make things personal. And that's where code of conduct comes through as our backup. So I do encourage you all to go through it properly, go through it a number of times as well. And this is going to be our, what Uncle Lenny Bristow's inihua on insurance, to make sure that we uphold the mana of our roles and positions as elected members of the Farm District over the next 10 years. Would any other member to speak to the recommendation? All those in favour say aye. Those opposed or abstentions? It's carried. We now go to item 5.7, 2025 Farm Districts of Governance Structure and External Methods on page 119. There are a few changes. What is printed? The pages to get on screen. I'll go to it line by line, and then we will come back and see if we're at. So the recommendation is that the following members be appointed to external organisation as follows. A, the Northern Regional Transport Committee. The member will be Councillor Court, with the alternate being Councillor Rachel Balke. The Oneroa Tohe Board, by legislation, Mayor has to sit on there, so that will be me. And the second member will be Councillor Haukia Haramira. The Joint Climate Change Adaptation Committee, the member will be Councillor Stratford, with the alternate being Councillor Allen. The Joint Regional Economic Development Committee, the members will be Councillor Zusic and Balke, and I ask that you include an alternate will be me. Resolution. The Civil Defence Emergency Management Committee, the member will be Councillor Stratford, and the alternate will be the Mayor, myself. The Mayor's Task Force Jobs, the member will be myself, with the alternate being Councillor Allen. The Local Government, Rural and Provincial Sector meetings, instead of having a single appointed member, what I want to happen over the next 3 years is that those agendas will come out, and the agendas are always filled with different kaupapa. Now, the first rural and provincial sector meeting has got a lot around housing. So I am going to suggest that we take down Councillor Zoe and Councillor Stratford to that first one, because they are going to be the Te Kukupa and Te co-chairs. Also, they're going to jointly hold a housing portfolio when it's established. But rather than having a single member, which we've done in the past, who has gone down to every single one, over the next 3 years, my expectation that every single member at this table is going to go down to our rural and provincial seat meetings. So we will just completely remove this. Creative Communities Funding Assessment Committee, we will have Councillor Stratford in there, and we probably do need an alternate, so I'll ask if any member would like to be an alternate for the committee. Councillor Howard Harawira, thank you. Turner Centre, Councillor Stratford. The Cycle Trail Trust, Councillors John Vucic and Councillor Kelly Stratford. The Road Controlling Authority Forum, Councillor Ann Call. And the first meeting in December is in Wellington, so we need to book you some flights. North Chamber, Councillor Davina Smulders. Councillor Smulders. NRC Whaio Whangaroa River Liaison Working Group, Councillor Stratford.
Can a member like Corey Atama go on there as well on the Whangaroa board?
I think that they're included anyway.
So Bruce Mills attend that as a community board member, so they'll have to ratify that at the board table.
At the community board table?
Yeah.
Can I recommend him?
Belinda's listening to you. And Natasha, you'll note that down.
NRC Awanui River Working Group. Councillor Foy.
No, I get backup. He's the backup.
With Councillor Hauptmann as an alternate. Now for the Te Hui Sports Hub.
Did you put the Taumata one?
That's at the end of my list, yeah. I do have more than on the list than that. Te Hui Sports Hub and Te Ahu Charitable Trust suggestion is that, like the last time, we put those for community board to appoint members to those. Rural Roading for North Hokianga, Councillor Rakina. Waitai Airport, Councillor Haukiad Harawira and myself. A new Kirikiri Urban Transport Working Group, Councillor Ford and Councillor Cord. Michael Hare Civic Hub.
Sorry, Councillor, is that Councillor as alternate?
Michael Hare Civic Hub, Deputy Radkin, Councillor Allen, and whoever will be the community board chair. The third shouldn't be from terms of references to. The Business Leaders Forum, Councillors Vucic and Balki. Youth Forum, Councillors Allen and Balki.
Second chair.
The water, wastewater and milk should read local water done well, and I'm proposing that stays as myself, Councillors Cord and Councillors Vucic. Unless someone else has gone, and then by all means I can be up to speed, but just when I moved out of my office, the pile of our materials was out to that. So I'm requesting that we all carry on for now, because we're all in the know. Te Kua Waitanga Bay of Islands Sports Hub. Now that is going to come as a separate paper from Roger to us, so we can take that out, please. Good. And Taumarere River Liaison Group, and that is Councillor Stratford. Waipapa River, I believe that's Councillor Ford. It was Councillor McNally. The other one I have is our final Accessibility Action Group.
Marco, can I please ask for an alternate? It's just that last term, NRC's meetings were always on community board days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so can I have an alternate just in case?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
Are you talking about accessibility committee?
Yes.
Just about one.
There was one through the adding to our list the Far North Accessibility Action Group.
I'll attend anyway, because I disability.
We had councillors Court and Sheffield on.
Yeah.
Would you like to go on?
Kai ones if there's anything.
It'd be awesome.
Do they have, in terms of reference, restrict us from adding an extra? From what got in from that group is that if we all jumped up, we'll be really happy that we're working.
Can I just signal through you that I would like the chief executive to consider a staff resource for accessibility? Thank you.
You have an email in your inbox from BNN as well. I also need to include a box for the Bay Islands Rugby Club, RC. One of you told me that I was missing one.
Oh, Bay Islands Recreation.
Oh, centre.
That base sport.
No, Bay Islands Rec Centre at Kawa. Which I've been on that. Let's continue.
Then we are also noting that I have established the following committees with terms of reference and membership to come to our member meeting. For the resolution that we are establishing a Te Kuaka Committee for Māori Strategic Relationships with Councillor Rahina as the chair and Te Kahu o Taonui to who's a deputy chair.
What is the point of order here? Chair, understanding order 74, clause 39-4, schedule 7 of the LD 2002. Have a person plus all the elected ED members appointed as a member of the committee, because they are not a member of the committee, so we can't appoint them as a deputy role. So how do we go about getting that?
I will need to do the staff for advice on that.
So that is part of your list. You have Bev Aroa. In the past, they have in our committee that consider any external people, individuals or groups to in our committees. So my recommendation would be that we take to them to ask them whether or not they'd consider appointing a Te Kahu and Taonui representatives.
Can I ask how we did that in the last term, because we didn't do that? Did we breach the LGA?
It did go in the last term. It went through as part of terms of reference discussion. I'm not actually sure whether we had a but at that stage. Yes, you can. Yeah.
If I take out Te Kahu Taonui from the note and put external, then it will leave for the external committee to pick up. You can all figure out the paper and then bring it back.
Why are we taking a Kahu o Taonui? Because
We're renaming external. As
yeah, because Pita Tiffany was the former chair and
They just
she
need
may
to
not
be
be able.
They need to be made members, and then once they're made member of the chair, member of an appointed member of the committee. Also appointed legislative member.
That was
Voting and consultation. I've had a point of order called. I will in favour of that we need to follow process that I can't name them until they actually are on the committee itself. I'll make it very clear that my expectation will be when those terms reference come back to us for us to adopt, that we very much so consider the inputs of that.
So will that likewise all the way down if there's any external chairs? Up high?
I'll just go to Councillor Court.
Just for clarity, all these positions we have an external be guided by the external appointment committee.
Yes.
Mm.
Te Miro Committee for Assurance, Risk and Finance with an external chair and Councillor Vucic as deputy. Te Koikoia Committee for Council Controlled Organisations with Councillor Vucic as chair and the general deputy. Te Koro Committee for Transport and Infrastructure with Councillor Foy as chair and an external deputy. Te Kukupa Committee for Strategy, Policy, Regulation with Councillor Stratford as chair and Councillor Court as deputy. Te Huia Committee for Executive Performance with an external chair and Deputy Mayor Rudkin as deputy. And Te Pipi Wharaurua Committee for External Appointments with Deputy Mayor Rudkin and myself as chair and deputy. Now, I understand that there are, I've sent around a governance plan with appointments for committees. There have been some requests for others to join committees. We'll add into the terms of reference and full membership for our committees. All right, this has not been moved yet, so I'm going to move this entire recommendation, and I would like a second. Councillor Stratford. Then I will pass over to you, Councillor Stratford. The portfolio holders will be, do I need to do, no, we can just still get you to come down. Wellington, portfolios, I don't have powers to establish the portfolios as the mayor. It needs to be through a council resolution. So that paper will come in November with the portfolios that I have for us to establish in terms of reference. But as chairs of the committees and who I have in there that I would like is our housing portfolios. I don't think that execute from coming to sure. Is that right? That's what you told me. Any commentary from members? I'll go to Councillor Harawira, then Councillor.
Wanted to ask, what's our arrangement with Te Hiku Social Accord? There was I think a request for a monthly meeting between council and the Accord.
Staff or elected members? Staff or elected members?
Wondering if it was meant to be a monthly occasion. I'll have to ask.
Have you
Statutory thing, yeah.
If staff could support Councillor Halkiad Harawira in getting an understanding of the role that we play with the Te Hiku Social Accord and then bringing the necessary papers back to us for us to have appointed members or operational insights into them, I would appreciate that before our meeting. Councillor Foy.
I had a point of clarification and maybe addressed under the terms of reference. The financial delegations and prior councils committees were given a limit on financial delegations. And also, I'm not sure as well about any delegations to the community board level for any decisions and how it may work within procedure. Where would that be addressed and at what time?
Between now and our November meeting is about to be named chairs or deputies for these different committees. I would expect that you would then working with staff or staff would be working with you to come to an arrangement around what appropriate terms of reference will be and delegations that your committees will have. As Mayor, I have shared with staff, and I think all of you, that I would like to have as when we can delegate down to a committee level as a council, we delegate it down. That you then are the powerhouse for us and you put money through. So whatever the highest level possible for our committees to have is delegations I'd like here. I think that for the community boards, that's a separate conversation though, and one that will take longer that I'd like to have because it has further implications for the organisation, but that I'd like to form a part of our calls on what appropriate. So all delegations currently sit at a council level. I would like to go down to the lowest possible denominator, I think that's the court, is what she's used in the past. So to our committee level. And then we have discussion with our community boards. And based off if you read it, the community board executive discussion document on council community relationships, there are different templated models that they have, ranging from an advisory role to an empowered role. And each of those have got different allegations that you would then expect to come with. But until our community board get sworn in, choose chairs, we're also undergoing inductions, of course, and we actually have that conversation and workshop it. Then we'll leave it as it is for now. And then I would expect that when we have a ceremony and sign our council community board a call, each of the corresponding community boards, we're also going to have a paper that goes to us around what that means operationally with our delegations. Any other than
I have a point of order, clarification, please.
absolutely, councillor Smith.
We've got a transport and operations committee, we've got external for DD. What's the reason behind that? We've got real expertise here at the depot.
I might actually ask if Councillor Court could give us background on when I put these together, I did take on the advice or commentary that I got from table, and Councillor Court put this across a lot better than me, and I agree. So maybe you can help.
I campaigned on so you would be familiar with my position than most. And elected members, if I can remember my speech on the campaign, elected members are not necessarily subject expert. And we have consistently failed to fire in this organisation as in our capital delivery. So if we second a subject expert in capital delivery to the committee, it can provide guidance and advice to the elected members on the committee that will strengthen and give them more power to set a meaningful work program and monitor delivery. And there are a number of project delivery experts in the field who will be invaluable. And that's not to say that we don't have really talented elected members at the top, but it's not always the case. And just as we have an external for audit and risk, there's a forensic expert in audit and risk, I think could be extremely valuable addition to make us the next few years change the dial.
Maybe allow for me to have the word subject expert then instead of external, because that could then go to anyone.
No, I don't think that's necessary. The chairs are going to work together the terms of principle, the position descriptions, who they require, and then the committee that you will also sit on to Pete Barone will be interviewing as a collective for these positions. I don't think that we put it for every single one of those lines is we need a subject expert for all of it. Externals okay for me. The other part of it was this committee is going to be one of our my powerhouse committees for Councillor Fair, and I do want her to have the ability to lean on an external subject expert, because feed into this committee is going to be a dedicated urban transport work group. There's a monumental task there to sort out our town centres, traffic, woes. The rural road working groups, currently we have one, North Younger, but we are going to have several more subdivisions that have working groups stood up. Councillor Rakina will be overseeing that program, but it's all going to flow this Katai Airport Working Group, which is now going to fit into this committee. A new capital delivery working group to stay on top of our capital delivery, which we know we can do a lot there on. All of our water and wastewater treatment plants have all got working groups that will feed through to this committee. And then also Regional Transport Committee itself. And as it next year, we've got our Highway Investment Program, our land transport fund. There's so much that's going through this. I would like to have an external sit on there, but I also take my hat off at the skills that Councillor Foy brings to the table in this space and reckon her as the chair for the committee.
If I can,
Councillor,
yeah, I'm just going to speak and support independent. And as you know, back well before we campaigned on that, I thought that all committees should have independent spirit on it, decision making. So, well, I've actually been saying for a while, I agree with that. And we will do an interview on that. Anybody appointed to a committee has to go through process to show that they have got the skills that can set. So you can be sure that that's what we'll be collectively looking for.
Any other answers? I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed to abstentions? That's carried. We are now going to go to item 5.8. The adoption of final district councils on the 18th scheduled November to December. And note that the formal council meetings covered for the remainder of the 2025 calendar year, including the ordinary council meeting on the 26th of November at 10 a.m. in the ordinary council meeting on the 11th of December 2025. Councillor Foy is going to move it with an amendment, I believe. You didn't know I can read it one.
Won't be a surprise to the elected members here who've been in previous trainees, but when the phase comes council, I always move an amendment to ensure we have at least one bed in Te Hiku for the year. Then you can all have empathy for how far we travel from where we live. And we welcome you to Moody Whenua to Hiku to have the one meeting a year. And also the staff are really helpful and show our maki and put on some special kind.
Great.
Can we put that as a note that it's not a formal ordinary council meeting, but that at least one of our meetings, that committee that you'll be chairing, or the reason why I'm opposed to formal council meetings being anywhere other than these chambers is our sound quality. When I watch it back, we still need to get it right. And I still hear people complain. But the refurbishment of this chamber cost $160,000 of ratepayer money to make it fit for purpose to hold our full council meetings, how they run with technology, and as a central spot for all our staff to come. But I'm absolutely in favour of us spreading our whenua across the far north, including into Hiku, for be it workshops or like. And so can we put down as a note, as a note that we will have at least one meeting or workshop calendar year in the Hiku room. I think maybe we should have our Christmas party. We started here last time and then went around each ward. Maybe we'll start up there and then go. I'll second this item, but I am going to add to the recommendation and that council hold, and so if we could have that as an A, And there's a belief that council hold an extraordinary meeting on Friday, the 31st of October from 1:30 p.m. to
Adopt
adopt the annual report. Consider added to it. Any members commentary? And I'll put that up on screen just so everyone knows what that is, please.
And will the auditors report, would that be our income?
Through the chair should be, section has some smallest. We've got draft already.
Put the motion up, we must see.
Just to be clear, you won't be asked to adopt the annual report out, sign off when you It's standard practice.
E paana ka hatu e te Morton ki te pata. So A is per the recommendation in your books, and B is per the alternate resolution that my City Council Collegium proposed. And also I need that note included in.
Just make a suggestion. We specify the venue for the extraordinary to be held. And it's via Microsoft Teams, but if any of the members are attending the Kaikuhokianga North meeting, they can join from this room.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed or any abstentions, that's carried. And then a note that the adoption of the annual report, auditor's report, we do have in front of you now, that will be considered at the actual council meeting of today. Of course.
Just the start, and mercy to those of us who read the version. Are they medical finance or are there any substantive matters in here?
Through the chair, no substantial concerns. It's minor really, his message, it wasn't under what we had to be in the call. Minor really. So what's happening at the moment, the team putting together a name sheet, which is figured out to see which.
What's that? E te iwi, whai atu te waka o tēnei kauhira ki tōna tōu rita. I runga no i te mea kua pāsike tākatoa i ngā nama kua o te whaeroa. Whai? No reire, hoi no ko tāku he mihi nui ki a koutou karo. Thank you, Chief Executive, staff, all of our beautiful councillors and deputy mayor for the final. Sure, we made it through our first council meeting, and I will close with karakia. Te tapu o ngā kōreri kariga ki ngā pātō te tātou, pare ki kō o ngā hara kaumi e hui e.
Tāki.